in a sense, they invent a new form of outsourcing. I don't even think outsourcing is the right word. I just don't have another term for it. You could maybe call it like the Apple way. But the idea is that we're going to exert an insane degree of control over these factories as if we run them, even though we don't. So that's very much a Tim Cook argument with Steve Jobs that takes years to sort of manifest. And in a way, I think if things had gone better under Steve Jobs in the first 3 or 4 years, maybe he would have won the argument and you would have had a bunch of Apple factories and maybe they wouldn't have gone to China, I don't know. But instead you have the dot-com crisis. And in a single day, Apple loses 50% of its value. And they're seen as such an acquisition target, that Gateway of all companies, who the hell knows what happened to Gateway? Gateway tries to acquire Apple. So they almost go bankrupt in 96, 97, and again in 2000. And this is when the chief negotiator for like 20 years joins the company, named Tony Blevins. He's in the book as like one of my favorite characters. And so anyway, so Blevins was at IBM. Many people that came over from operations were from IBM, so much so that IBM called Apple IBM West. You're poaching all of our people. Tim Cook obviously being the most prominent example. But IBM's manager, to Tony Blevins, says, undoubtedly you're making the worst decision of your life when he joins Apple. And I'm pointing that out just because you have to understand that like the meet cute moment between Apple and China before they get married is that Apple is really quite in a precarious position. And so Steve Jobs sort of loses that argument because they have no money to build their own factories. So they sort of have to outsource. They have to continue the trajectory of outsourcing. And it's in that period where Steve Jobs needs to be convinced that they begin to consolidate everything into China. And China just absolutely wows the Apple engineers with how quickly they can do things, and frankly, how diligently they can do things. The workers are like sponges.